Barry, you suck. You're the most annoying person I've ever met. I hate your guts. And even now, talking about it, thinking about it, it was just way too freaking stressful. Hello cookies, it's Siri. I am back, and today I'm going to talk about what I have learned from getting divorced at 26 years old. For those of you who are expecting some tea or some drama or some bad mouthing, it's not going to happen. Because in general, I believe that some things have to stay private, and also it's of poor taste to badmouth someone that I was with, especially married with. So it's not going to be about that. It's going to be about my experience after all of that has happened. The first thing that I learned is that I will never, ever, ever get together again with someone who is not as excited as me about having dogs. As much as I never want to have children, dogs have always been a big part of my life, and I can't see my life without dogs ever. For me, that is a nightmare. The idea of never having a dog, that would be for me a really sad life. That is something that now I know I have to bring up when I start dating someone. We had dogs, and they were always what I really wanted in my life, whereas the person that I was with was not that interested. And that created a lot of issues and problems and stress, because for someone who is not entirely excited over the idea of having dogs, every little small thing can be a huge thing. So if the puppy is not fully trained by 10 weeks and he happens to go to the bathroom indoors, be it number one or number two, it's a huge deal. There's a lot of screaming, a lot of silent treatment, a lot of this is all your fault, you should train the dog better, this and that. While this is a 10 weeks old puppy, maybe that is a little bit expected. Every time we got a dog, I would spend at least 3 months full time trying to raise the puppy to be a good dog, to know the rules, walk it and everything. But I think the fact that I was the one who was training them, who was strict on not eating table scraps, this and that, they bonded closer to my previous partner, and they saw me as the strict one, and they saw him as just their buddy, their friend. And I don't mind, because I loved my dogs regardless, but I always had that pressure of being the perfect dog owner. Oh, they never, ever, ever can have an accident inside, even if they're sick, because it's gonna be a huge thing. If they don't sit within half a second when told to sit, I failed their training. So I always had a lot of pressure. It was really hard to have a dog in that relationship, and to have dogs as well, because one dog became two, etc. So stressful. And even now, talking about it, thinking about it, it was just way too freaking stressful. I did not enjoy the process. I loved my dogs on so many aspects. They changed my life, and they're some of the best things that have ever happened to me. I think dogs for me are really just this magical, beautiful ball of fur and love and acceptance, and dogs are just amazing. They're great. I will always try to have dogs as much as I can afford and have time and the energy and can give them a good life. But I will definitely pick the right person to have dogs with, or I will just have dogs by myself, because no, I will never have dogs with someone who's not fully excited into the idea of having dogs. The second thing that I learned is that I will never ever be with someone who dismisses mental health issues or topic regarding mental health, because that means that when something happens to them or something happens to me, they just dismiss it. And if I have mental health issues, it might just be that I'm whiny or complaining or ungrateful, or it might be that I actually have a mental health issue, and when it comes to them, they are just too proud and too manly to get help. This is so detrimental, because I believe that health is 50% physical health and 50% mental health. I cannot be with someone ever again who would just dismiss an entire 50% of what overall health is, because then they will never ever get help for anything, and they will never believe me or fully support me or try to understand my issues when it comes to my health. In this aspect, it sucks to know that if I break my arm, oh yes, it's taken seriously because it can be seen. But if I've been burnt out, depressed, I have anxiety, I have PTSD, which I have been diagnosed with, and I know I have because I've had nightmares my entire life, someone will just dismiss all of that and say, you're just tired and hungry. You know, it feels quite lonely. And also when you see someone that you love that is obviously struggling with things and you're trying to tell them nicely many times that maybe you should go talk to someone, a therapist, maybe I should go. We could also go to a couple therapist and have a couple therapist and then our own sessions individually, whatever. I will support you. And in that scenario, money would not have been an issue back then. The third thing that I learned is that all the issues and problems that we had while dating and that bugged me while dating and while being engaged will only get worse when married. I thought, wow, I'm going to live with the rest of my life with this issue that cannot be fixed, or that the other person is not willing to fix together with me. And that just created this cloud of dread over my head because I put myself in a situation where I might potentially have to deal with that forever, and that made it way, way, way worse than when you're just dating or engaged and you know that you can always step out of the situation if you don't like it, if it hurt you too much, but now you're stuck. To some extent, unconsciously, people think, oh, now I'm married, I've nailed it, I don't have to work on myself anymore because what is this person going to do? Leave? And that's when people are blindsided when one of the partners says, here are divorce papers, I'm leaving. If there are issues and they're never addressed, they're never fixed or anything, they will get even worse once you're married, because then people have the security blanket of knowing that, oh, he or she cannot leave, we're married. It's not like divorce is an option. Divorce is always an option. It's a thing that exists. I believe that it's important not to take each other for granted. And when I'm with someone, I always tell them at the beginning of a relationship that if they ever feel like I'm taking them for granted and not appreciative enough, they have to tell me. We have to discuss and sit down, because I might just be on a roll and busy with my things and just stressed with other things, and then they don't see me being appreciative and it goes and eats at their soul. We don't communicate and I will never know because I'm too busy doing my own thing. I always tell the people that I'm with, if you feel like I'm taking you for granted or being ungrateful or unappreciative, let me know about it. You can talk to me. You have to be kind. Don't just go, you suck, you're the most annoying person I've ever met, I hate your guts. No, you can say, honey, can we sit down? You know, I feel like lately you've been unappreciative and it has hurt my feelings. I still think you're amazing, but could we try and do this and that and that? The next one is just a fact. So I am really happy that we never had children. Both of us were child-free entering the relationship and always on the same page when it comes to being child-free. I would not date someone who is on the fence or I've never thought about it. That relationship was entirely child-free. We were both very happy being child-free. That is something I'm so happy about, because had there been children, it would have been so much more difficult. Now already with dogs, my previous partner doesn't allow me to see them anymore. I miss my boys a lot, but my previous partner doesn't reply to my texts or phone calls or emails about trying to meet my boys. And I presume that had there been kids, it would be an even harder situation that would have consumed energy, money, would have made me even more stressed, probably get back into a loop of depression. It would have just been so much more difficult. The next thing, and that is closely related to having kids or not, I believe, is that dating is actually not that hard after a divorce, at least for me. When I started going back on the dating scene, I was stressed and scared about how men would react upon knowing that I am divorced at a young age. I always made it a huge thing how I would only tell every man on the third date if he gets to a third date. I don't kiss on the first date. I don't do anything promiscuous. I'm extremely old school in my dating ways and dating views and dating attitude. I need to like the conversation on the dating app. I need to talk to you on the phone and like what I hear, like your vibe. We have to have the same goals in life in the future before I meet you, because it takes time to get ready, it takes time to go on a date for both of us. And I think time is important. I don't want to waste yours, I don't want to waste mine. And then on the first date, I have to determine whether I want a second date or a third date. On the third date, I would always tell them, so I have something to tell you. And they would go, okay, is it really serious? And I would say, well, I'm divorced. And I was expecting the worst reaction every time, but I kid you not, that worst reaction never happened. Not even once. No one reacted. They would say, okay, so what kind of dessert do you want? It was not a big deal. It might also be because I live in Sweden, where many people can be together for their entire life without getting married. And people just look at relationships more in terms of how long you've been together. It doesn't have to be official on paper, getting married. Some people do it, but there are also so many people who don't do it, and it's totally acceptable here to be together, have children, and just be sambu, which means be living in together. So you live together, but you're not officially married, and you have children together. So it might also be because of the culture here in Sweden, but at the same time, because people make divorce such a huge deal in general, I thought that I would be looked at differently or judged, or they would lose interest. But no, it has never ever ever happened. They would just go, yeah, I don't care. If you had children, then that would be a deal breaker for me, because I don't want to date a single mother. People can want what they want and dislike what they dislike. It's about freedom, and that doesn't really matter. What matters is that they did not care about my previous relationship being a marriage and me being divorced. I will never date anyone who has a defeat mentality. That is the contrary of how I want to live my life. I've had a rough life since I was a child, and you cookies know some parts of it, but there's a lot of it you don't know. But I have struggled on so many levels in my life, and I still struggle. I've had money issues, health issues, relationship issues, mental health issues, visa issues, grieving. I've had so many things. There are a lot of issues all the time that happen in life, and especially in my life. As my grandma and my boyfriend say, they think I'm the unluckiest person that they've ever met. But at the same time, I know that I'm resilient, and that is a trait that my boyfriend and even my ex-husband like about me, because they know that if there's an issue, I'm going to fight and fight and fight, and I'm not going to call defeat unless I'm defeated. Being in a relationship with someone who sees problems as facts instead of problems that could potentially have a solution is tiring, because then it's up to me to try to find solutions, to try to fix things, to make things better. Now I have both the responsibility of trying to find solutions and also trying to lift at that person, so they're not just there like, what to do? That's life. I can't with that kind of attitude. Of course you're always going to lose if you don't fight, if you don't try. And the thing is, for me, trying is good enough, because that's one step closer. That shows that there's a will somewhere, even in the depth of the soul. There's a spark, a will, something to try and make things better, to try and fix things. But when there's someone there who doesn't even have that and accepts the situation every time and doesn't stand up for themselves or doesn't stand up for me or doesn't stand up for anything, it's hard. The last thing that I will never compromise about is intimacy. I have requirements when it comes to intimacy, and not having those requirements fulfilled make me feel unattractive, unloved, unwanted, and really hacks at my own confidence. And it just makes me feel sad and that I'm not good enough, because it hurts to be rejected all the time, and it hurts to not have your needs met in a way that it's not even not having your needs met, but more the person doesn't care at all about your needs. I have a hard time usually feeling comfortable enough with people to be super close physically, because I did not grow up with kisses and hugs or saying I love you at home or any kind of sweetness, closeness, that warm, fuzzy family thing. I did not grow up with that. On the contrary, it was rough. Usually physical touch would not be very pleasant for me. But when it comes to the person that I am with, I want to cuddle, I want to hug, I want to be close, I want to have intimate moments together. That is important for me. It's just a part of a love language. There is really a rift when one person is totally not interested and the other person is interested, and then it creates a situation where if you're the one who is interested, you don't want to force, of course, because that's not a nice thing to do. It should be that they want to do it. I would not want to be with someone who doesn't want to be physically close to me. But at the same time, you have your own needs and you start feeling frustrated and unloved or not attractive enough or not good enough. It's just a weird dynamic. So I'm not going to put myself in that kind of situation again. I don't know if I'm super boring when I'm talking, but I have noticed that every time I make a video, Laika is around and she falls asleep to my voice. So now she's deep asleep on her bed down there. And she sleeps better now when I'm talking to you, Cookies, than at night when she usually wakes up, paces around, sleeps, wakes up, paces around, sleeps, jumps on the bed, gives us kisses, then jumps down and sleeps. But now she's just sleeping peacefully, deeply while I'm talking. Anyway, Cookies, if you liked it, then please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't want to miss the upcoming videos. If you have gone through a divorce as well, or if you have broken up after a long, serious relationship and learned something that you believe would be valuable to this community, please share it down below. I think that people's experiences and knowledge are always really interesting, and I always try to learn from other people. See you at the next video, Cookies. Bye!